Welcome to part 2 of this video about the Voicelive 3. This is where we look at the looper that is part of the Voicelive 3 unit. Now, as we talked about before, there is one central access all areas button, and that is the button that says looper. To access the looper layer, just hold down on that button with your foot and it should light up pink, and that's taking you into the looper layer. Now, the first thing you'll notice once you're in the looper layer is that there's a little pink button with the word hit underneath it that is just flashing at you. Do something, do something. So now if you hit that button, you'll hear this. I'm going to do it right now. That's your metronome. Now, some of you are going to find that sound annoying, and some of you prefer not to work with a metronome. So if you want to get rid of that sound, what you have to do is check out what's on the LCD display, because the thing with the looper layer is that everything on the LCD will tell you what corresponds to different foot switches. And the foot switches correspond to different things at different parts in laying down your loops. So have a look there now, and what it should say is, I'll bring it over here. Now you'll notice on the LCD that if you're hearing that sound, met on is going to be lit up. If you're not hearing that sound, it's probably lit up with met off, right? Sometimes it just defaults to that. So what I'm going to do is I look at basically the display on the LCD and equate that to the foot switches underneath, right? So the word met off appears on the top half in the middle. So that will be the delay foot switch. So I tap on that and that sound is gone. Of course, it's only irritating because I'm talking over the top of it, and so you're listening for that rather than the music. So if you want your metronome off, that's how you do it. Now, the demonstration that I'm going to do, because I actually do my other songs on different kinds of loopers, so this is a very new system for me. I'm just sort of making things up as I start using it. It's been a very good songwriting tool, but it's just something wordless and random just to demonstrate the sounds for you. So I am going to turn the metronome back on. I just do that by, look, okay, metronome on is on the bottom layer in the middle, so I tap that particular foot switch, it's back on. It's also too fast, so what I'm going to do is actually tap in my own tempo. Now how I do that is simply by tapping on the hit switch at a slightly slower rate, because it's just only a little bit too fast for me. Right, so now it's actually about 100 BPM rather than 120, which it was before. That's more comfortable. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is layer in my first loop over the top of that. A lot of us loopers, looper is slang for a crazy person down under, so a lot of us loopers, we like to start off with quite a simple background, so either like a drone or a very simple harmony, which we then sing lead over the top of. So I'm going to do something like that. What I'm going to use as well is one of the presets from the Voicelive 3. It has something called a low fixed harm. It's preset number 16, and it's got a low fixed harmony, meaning I can do simple harmony and a drone will be generated underneath that. So for me, it's like singing two parts into the looper at once. It's very handy. Now, how to record that? Of course, in the vocal layer, I already made sure I was in preset 16 before I started. So if you have a preset in mind, go back into the vocal layer, set that to the preset, and then come back to the looper layer. So again, looking at the LCD, you can see that after having set the tempo, if you did this too, you've got the following options, right? You've got back, metronome off, sound, tap, metronome on, metronome mute. And what you have to do is hit back is in the top right, so the top right foot switch, which is U-mod, micro mod, will take us back to another menu. Now that menu should read on the far left, util and metronome, like that. On the far right, Rec B and Rec A. Now Rec A is record A, right? That's where we're going to put our first loop. That corresponds to the harmony drive foot switch. So what that means is, as soon as I hit on that foot switch, it's going to start recording whatever is coming into the Voicelive 3. I'll do it with that mic, of course. I still do have to watch my timing, but I've got a metronome, so it's a lot easier to do. Now, the idea is to sing 1 bar or 4 bars of some kind of repeating cycle and then hit that same button again exactly on the beat. So we've got that setup of 4 bars or 1 bar that's just going to run on in the background that I can sing over the top of. So let's try that. So this is our sort of main background loop. I can sing over the top of this, just singing lead, however I like. I can keep the effect I was using, but it's going to generate that low drone the whole time. So chances are, what you want to do is go back out into the vocal layer. Don't worry, because the loops will keep going. All you have to do is just hold down on the looper button. Takes you out of the looper, right? You can see it's gone blue. So I'm in the vocal layer again. I'm in my preset 16 fixed harmony. You'll notice the harmony component button. I can just get rid of that like this. So now I don't have any harmonies, I still have delay and reverb. That's much more satisfactory to me in terms of singing lead over the top of this loop. So I'll just do that using the mic hooked up to the Voicelive. So that would be the sort of verse structure that I would sing right now. Of course, I want to add build, and the way I often work, and a lot of loop people work, a lot of post-rock people work, is building up layers, and loop machines are brilliant for that. However, the one problem I often get is you're building up these layers, and you can't pull them back again. So unless your song is going to go sort of linearly, it can be quite problematic. Another great thing about the Voicelive 3 is it has the space to record 2 separate loops. So you'll notice on the LCD, check it out now, that's, I'm in the vocal layer, I'll just get into the looper layer again. So I held it down to get there. You'll notice when you're in that looper mode, the one that you were in where it says, Rec A and Rec B. Rec B is the one on the top. That's going to be a completely separate loop. So what I can do is record that loop and stop it or start it independently of the other one. And what that allows you to do is sort of swap between which loops are actually playing, which combination of loops are playing at any one time. So you've got a lot more scope over build and structure in terms of songwriting and sort of dramatic impact. So what I'm going to do is set up a chorus loop using that space Rec B. Now what I'm using is actually the same effect still. Okay, it's preset 16. What I've done, I've actually added a component to the preset mix here. So this is just also to show you that as well as subtracting those broad brush strokes, you can actually add things as well. I went into the vocal layer and I tapped the micro mod button. So there's now a distortion element as well to that same preset. And I'm going to use that to set up my chorus structure, okay? First I will sing it clean, and then I will sing it with the effect on it. So that becomes sort of loop B, right? Now, what I can do is pull out the verse one by just hitting, again, you always check your LCD, which one is loop A and which is B. I'm going to pull out loop A by hitting this button, because you can see on the LCD, it says stop A and stop B, okay? So I'm going to stop loop A. So now I've just got that chorus one that I set up. I'm going to bring the verse one back in again. You'll notice it says play A. also notice they're always in sync. Another wonderful feature of this unit. Now I'm going to stop the chorus because I want to go back to a verse, right? And just bring it back down a bit. So what I'm going to do now is just show you the verse-chorus loops in combination and how they can actually be used to some really good effect in terms of build. So what I'm doing, again, holding down and going back out into the vocal layer, getting rid of that distortion, the micro mod button, getting rid of the harmony, so that all I am left with now is delay and reverb, which is fine for singing a lead vocal. I go back into the loop layer, holding down this loop button. I've still got both my loops in there, and I can just click them on and off whenever I like. So now I just get to perform and call them up when I feel like it's useful. Okay, so we're going to go through this random song, and you can see how it can build. This part's known as the party fade out. Which you often end up doing on stage. But it's partly so that I can talk without having all of that going on in the background. Part of what you will have noticed is I recorded an extra loop over my chorus loop. You can always overdub onto existing loops to the extent that you want. You'll notice too, once you've recorded that first loop, the corresponding display on the LCD will change its name to ODub A and ODub B because you've already got actual background loops in there. You're now in overdub mode if you start recording things on them. Also, you'll notice stop A and stop B, stopping A, stopping B. There's also an all start button once you've stopped those other ones going. Once you've stopped everything from running, you can hit all start at the same time again. They're all still there. I can also save them, which is great. If I think I've got a really good idea, then I will save them and I can come back to them so that I don't forget them. Also, certain things will be quite difficult to start off with in live sets. For instance, any kind of guitar riff that you're playing that you want to set as a background loop that's incredibly complicated and you think you can't repeat it, you might want to just put it in there. Of course, I use a lot of machine sounds, so what I tend to do is record those in prior to my performance so that I can just call them up using start. Without actually having to lay them in live. It's very hard to lay in, drills and circular saws live. So that is quite a useful utility as well. Anyway, what I hope is that you can see some of the amazing potentials for creativity with the Voicelive 3. The limitations that I find are things like this: having to have a second microphone because there is no bypass switch on this. However, I use 2 microphones live all the time anyway because most people want there to be the occasion where you can just let the sound tech take over what kind of reverb, what kind of delay you want. So that would be one limitation. But apart from that, I think it is a very, very good songwriting tool. And because you have a number of effects in terms of vocals and guitar, as well as the looper, it's just a very ingenious way of finding ideas, making them fit together, and seeing how they can work in a live context. So I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for watching. Now, if you are interested in loop-based music, please do head to my own website. I use a number of different loop machines. Different loop machines are good for different purposes, but I've spent many years putting together tutorials to help people know how to use them. You'll also get an idea of what loop-based music can sound like. Thanks again, and enjoy the Voicelive 3. It's great fun. Bye.